Hello and welcome to Aerotech's Automation 1 Motion Control Platform Educational Series. Aerotech is a company that solves your toughest precision motion and automation challenges. Automation 1 is a motion control platform consisting of software-based controls and development tools, PC and drive-based control hardware, and hardware-based drives for servo motors and other devices. In this video, you'll discover how to start configuring the Automation 1 software for use with your system. My name is Alex and I am a control systems specialist for Aerotech. Configuring Automation 1 for your PC involves a few quick things. 1. Entering the ISMC and MDK license keys, configuring your hyperwire connection, and then finally running machine setup to configure your axes. To get you started, we'll briefly go through each one of these. To begin, let's start with where you can enter your license keys. In the Automation 1 Studio, under the Configure tab, there's an Administration section. In that, you'll find the licensing. That's where you can change or add the MDK and the ISMC license keys. Clicking the Change Key buttons will allow you to update the license keys you're using. This will work for both PC and drive-based controller software. The one exception to the license key input may just be that when you open the software for the first time, you may receive a prompt to enter the MDK or the ISMC license key. Next is going to be configuring the hyperwire card. This is going to be done from the Machine Setup tool. Now, as you may have noticed when I first opened the software, we had a banner error telling me that my hyperwire card was not fully configured. So we will only need to go through this hyperwire configuration for PC-based controllers, since those are the only ones that use the hyperwire card. Drive-based controls use either Ethernet or USB, so you don't need this step for configuring Automation 1. Now, before we can continue with the hyperwire card, we need to actually configure it in a different software. With a PC-based controller, the real-time operating system that Automation 1 uses needs to actually take control of the hyperwire communication bus. To do this, we have to go into the real-time operating system configuration software. In this case, this is operated by the InTime software. So this will involve opening the InTime configuration application, then going to the InTime device manager. In here, find the hyperwire card that you have installed into the computer. This should be found under the Aerotech Devices section. Right-click on the card, and then select Pass to InTime using MSI. Then save by hitting the red exclamation point. Now at this point you will have to reset your computer just to make sure that the InTime software fully took control of the hyperwire communication bus. So let's go ahead and do that right now, and then we'll jump back to the Machine Setup tool. Alright, and now that we are back, when we go to connect to the controller, you can see that we no longer get those error messages that we were seeing before. So from this Machine Setup page, we could use the drop-down to either select the hyperwire card that we just configured, or use this Auto Select Hyperwire Card button to have the software automatically select the hyperwire card that we just set up. And then that should be it. At this point, your hyperwire card is now fully configured. And as long as you do not see any additional error messages, then you should be good to continue with the configuration. You may also notice this Switch to Virtual or Switch to Hyperwire button. This is used to switch the Automation 1 controller from hyperwire mode to virtual mode. So hyperwire mode is where you actually connect to real physical axes and controllers, and virtual mode is where all of the software can operate virtually with virtual axes. If you are using virtual mode, then you don't actually need to go through any of this hyperwire card setup. You just need to select the Switch to Virtual Mode button. And after that, you should be good to virtually test, run, and configure your axes. The very final thing you need to do at this point is to run through the machine setup to either create new parameters from scratch or set up and use a migrated MCD file from our legacy A3200 software. And how we can go about migrating an older A3200 configuration for use in Automation 1 will be covered in a later video. So for now, that concludes this motion control platform educational video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed learning about the beginning steps of configuring the Automation 1 software for use with your system.